Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing you a very special video. I keep saying that a lot in these intros now. I've had a lot of news this week. We had an Andor trailer on Monday. Last week we had the big James Bond news announcement. And this week we're going to be talking Harry Potter for the first time since we did our series at the tail end of last year. Because we may have just had our first bit of major casting news for the HBO adaptation series, the series which is going to be shooting across the summer, shooting in the summer. There's been open casting calls, there's been big names linked, but we've had an actor come out, and you'd have known by now by the news, it's everywhere now. John Lithgow has announced himself that he'll be playing Dumbledore in the HBO series. The key word is that it has not been officially announced. I don't normally do speculative videos like this, but I've never seen an actor go on to do some PR appearances confirming they themselves have been cast in something, especially of a project of this magnitude, a series of this scale that's just getting ready for Series 1, where there has been no official announcements as of yet. For all we know, there could be loads of stuff planned over the next couple of weeks, but I'm going to be talking about this in a shorter video format. Before I get into this, people at home, do comment your thoughts on John Lithgow being cast as Albus Dumbledore. I know Mike Rylance was originally rumoured. I've been maybe talking about it in a little bit of time. We did a casting series, more of a fun fan casting type stuff at the end of last year. I'll be talking about that too, because we set ourselves the traditional rule of it's going to be British actors only. That's a big conversation talking point. Age is a talking point today too. So there's a lot of things going down with this, and I'm really interested to get different people's thoughts on this. I'm actually really curious on what people's thoughts are, not just on this casting announcement, but maybe what this means for the future of the series, what it means for involvement from creators of the books, Warner Brothers themselves. I'll be talking and speculating a little bit on those. As I said, we don't normally do news items such as this, but I do think the Harry Potter casting announcements are going to be quite big, and I feel like we're going to get them in waves over the weeks and months. Maybe we'll get some big press releases where it's like, boom, here's 5 or 6 of the key teachers you're going to see across 7 seasons. Here are these. Maybe there'll be an announcement like, great, we've just had the teachers, here's the Dursleys, here's the Weasleys, here's X, Y, and Z. It could be humongous. And the fact there's already a Harry Potter studio tour, they really dress up these announcements. They might do all this in a great hall, do some traditional PR photos, like what you get with footballers moving with the old traditional photo op. So I'm curious by the show. I'm curious by what people think at home. So do them to comment and get involved. If you want to find us to look at other videos we're doing, other social media sites we're on, linktree.com/cinemasavvy puts you through to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd and Blue Sky. We've got a link in the description below for that if you want to follow us elsewhere where we talk about the videos. Again, the second video in a row. I was sat down tonight to talk about Emilia Perez, and I've had some news come instead, so I get to continue to avoid having to review Emilia Perez, which is a great review of the film. That I just want to do everything I can to avoid reviewing Emilia Perez, because of course it's Oscar season 2. But I might have put a photo on the thumbnail of John Lithgow with an SAG. Yes, he's part of Conclave, which won Best Ensemble at the SAGs. We do a big part of Oscar Season 4, so I'm going to use that thumbnail to plug that live stream we do on Sunday. But let's really start getting into this. Let's talk about John Lithgow being cast as Dumbledore. Now, I mentioned Mike Rylance. And back when we did the video for the casting, ironically, I was sat in the cinema about to watch Conclave, starring John Lithgow, when the first big casting rumour, and when I say rumour, not like an awful newspaper British type football transfer rumour, I mean like an actual trade within Hollywood comments on, this is the person they want to see play this role. And originally it was Mike Rylance as Dumbledore, and I was really behind that, and I didn't think that's going to take place. And I think that may have been a common consensus with others. In his private life, he's had a casting with his family, and there's no comments past that point. That's not me speculating on that, but given that if this is the announcement to be, then Mike Rylance is out of the picture. Would have been a fantastic actor to play the role of Dumbledore, British as well. And now we're getting John Lithgow, who is an incredible actor, who has won multiple Emmys. He's had a very successful career, very recognisable to so many people, whether it be animated roles such as Lord Farquaad, whether it be TV series like The Crown, and even go back to films like Blowout and so many of the great films he's been in. Rise of the Planet of the Apes is one of my favourites he's in. He is an unbelievable actor, and kind of where we've gone with this Dumbledore announcement all those months ago is you need a statement for this show. It's a very controversial show for 2 real key reasons. The first one is the fact they are rebooting the Harry Potter books, which had a very, very, very successful, as an understatement, film series adaptation. Weird to call it an adaptation now because it's now a version of Harry Potter, but that was controversial in itself. Obviously, the follow-up controversy is everything going on at the moment with J.K. Rowling, which I won't comment on in the concept of this video. She has some creative control they've spoke about with this show, but at the same time as that, and this is I'm kind of add a bit of curiosity as to maybe if this HBO approach can be different, considering it was J.K. Rowling, not the directors, not other people. It was J.K. Rowling that had it locked in for those films, British actors only. From memory, there was an American kid cast as Harry Potter, and that was removed, and then they brought in Daniel Radcliffe. I think Robin Williams spoke about how he was desperate to be part of Harry Potter, but again, it was the British rule. If you're not British for these characters, you're not going to do it. So when we're kickstarting HBO, who, let's be honest, guys, they're the best studio in the world for making TV, and that's a great thing going for it, that HBO are involved in making the show. I wouldn't want it to be anywhere else if this show were even being made. HBO is the company you know can deliver. With the budgets, with the production values, with the people they're going to hire for the projects, i.e. John Lithgow as well, bringing in some of the Succession writers as well, really starting to, I think, frameworks locked into the VFX. Things are taking shape surrounding this within the industry. And I find it fascinating that we get an American cast versus Dumbledore. And John Lithgow is not hidden from that at all. But rather than just me speculating and give my thoughts, I'm actually going to read out what he said, because there's a couple of big pieces in the news story, and everyone's only speaking about it. And I'm still testing this new format where I've got the camera above the laptop, so I'm not being ignorant looking down. But I'm just going to go through what he said. It was an interview with Screen Rant, and he said, "Well, it came as a total surprise to me. I just got the phone call up at Sundance for yet another film, and it was not an easy decision because it's going to define me for the last chapter of my life. I'm afraid, but I'm very excited. Some wonderful people are turning their attention back to Harry Potter. That's why it's been such a hard decision. I'll be about 87 years old at the wrap party, but I've said yes." That's the first quote, I guess I can say, from there. And I'm not going to talk about the age stuff yet, because then there's a follow-up interview where he then says, I think to Collider, "It's pretty scary, but it's certainly not anything I would dream of saying no to. I'm about to turn 80 next year. I'll be 80. I'll be 86 or 87 at the wrap party for this one. It's a wonderful winding down role. That's how I see it. I know that I'll be working with at the top of the food chain. These are superb people, and I'll be working with among the best English-speaking actors in the world. I mean, the talent pool right there in London is at their disposal. I'm really excited about it, and just revisiting Harry Potter in depth these days, I just want to do it justice." And I'm going to give you one more quote from the same Collider interview. "I do Giant, the role Dal will play, right up until August 2nd. I'm available to work on August the 4th, so I go right out of the frying pan and into the fire. I'll be doing makeup and hair tests for the last couple of weeks that I performed Roald Dahl on the West End." So there's 3 news cycles there for me, and I'm going to try and break each one down, not too heavily, but the first one is him announcing himself as Dumbledore. Great. I actually quite like it, unless there was some humongous thing planned. I don't mind this. I've realised I don't mind this. But the key is the age conversation, and this is something I spoke about when we did those videos last year. This is a 10-year gig. I know he says he'll be 87 at the wrap party. That's presumably going to film a season every year. The character he's playing, Albus Dumbledore, is a character that's going to be on screen for 7 seasons. Yes, he gets killed, spoiler alert, for the Half-Blood Prince, but he does appear in the Deathly Hallows. And most faithful adaptation ever tag, which I will continue to say because it seems like the biggest justification for doing this outside of money, is the fact that Dumbledore does have a very heavy presence in that 7th book. He, of course, we get more of his backstory. You can do younger Dumbledore, etc., etc. We get more of Grindelwald. We get more of his relationship type stuff. But then we also get, obviously, the scene when Harry's supposedly dead. We're going to get the portrait as well. So he is going to be through to the end. He might not be in the Order of the Phoenix, much to the fact he hires Harry from a year, but he has an incredibly heavy presence in Half-Blood Prince. And it feels sort of a bit sickening that I'm going to talk about this age thing, but I think what throws the Harry Potter spotlight on the age thing a little bit further is that in the film series, of course, technically we've had 3 Dumbledores in the film series, but in the main Harry Potter films, we've had 2. And of course, one of those passed away at the end of the 2nd film. It was known that Richard Harris was ill at the time. I believe he spoke in interviews saying that he took the role on for his granddaughter. His granddaughter begged him to. He's a legend of British cinemas, especially his kitchen sink dramas from the 60s. And then, of course, came on Michael Gambon, and I love both performances. Each one brought their own presence and identity to it, but I've always looked at it from this dynamic that could Richard Harris as Dumbledore had done the stuff Michael Gambon did? Could he have done the Half-Blood Prince, the sequences with the fire, all that sort of stuff, you know, drinking the potion, regressing with his life, almost dying, all these kinds of things. And it's completely ageist of me to say it, so I don't mind saying I worry that in a really nice way he spoke in these interviews that it will be his last, you know, part of his life, which sounds horrible to say, but he'll be almost 90 by this time the series is done, and that's an incredible feat to sign on for. As a legendary actor he is, I have no doubt about his performance. Now, I've not seen all 6 seasons of The Crown. I think I saw the first half of season 1, and I'd seen him a few times as Churchill, particularly in the Fog episode and in the first episode where he had a scene with Jared Harris. Ironically, could have had 2 Dumbledores there, but he can do a British accent. He's a legendary actor. He's done many British accents. The fact he spoke about Roald Dahl as well. He's playing Roald Dahl on stage, who's one of Britain's most famous authors. He has the range in his acting to do this. He's done comedy. He's done drama. The perfect balance of those is the character of Dumbledore. It's having that natural wisdom with curiosity. And when you read him in the books and how he comes across and what his persona is to other people, one moment he's got some weird speeches, but you know, he'll say like a few random words at the Hogwarts feast, but then he'll go into formal announcements. There's such an incredible performance. You've got to think he's going to have sequences of whoever's cast as Voldemort with Tom Riddle, but then he's going to be also nurturing the children whilst being their teacher, whilst also having this shadier side to him. You're going to have the political stuff with Fudge and other things. It's a really tough role, and if this series is going to adapt those books, the most faithful they've ever been, then I've got faith that if John Lithgow can see it through, that's a much nice way of saying it, then it would be a crowning achievement of said series on the presumption the series is good and everything else is good RE casting. But if the series isn't working and if the performance isn't working, God, if anything happened, then that would be something that people would then go and criticise the producers for. So it's a very, very genuine concern others will have. Again, it's shooting here. We know it's going to be back at Leavesden like the films were. We know there's going to obviously be some carryovers. So it's still the earliest days of speculation. But the fact he's also spoke about the fact he's going straight from West End to Dumbledore. So his August 4th scenes, I don't know anything about filming dates, but just going off this today, the kids casting announcement, when they put the open casting call out, they said they've got to be able to film from April 2025. The fact we're 2 days off March is frightening, because in theory, being free from April would have indicated that filming starts in April. Maybe that's dress rehearsals, maybe that's like cast coming together, all that sort of PR stuff is going to come through it too, but we don't really know much about the timeline. There was one moment it was talking about releasing in 2026, others were talking about being released in 2027, but the fact that John Lithgow has got it almost locked in his schedule really implies he's a bit further into this. The fact he'd be doing hair and makeup whilst also doing stage work shows that, okay, it's great he's be based in London to do all those things, but this is really ahead of steam. And for all we know, this might start filming at the end of spring, right at the start of summer, and then he comes into it later on as Dumbledore, because what people will forget with the books and the films is Dumbledore as a character, yes, he's one of the most important ones, but he isn't in every scene. When he pops up, I mean, if you think about the Philosopher's Stone, right, you're going to get him in the introduction, the prologue. You're then going to get him at the Hogwarts feast, the start of term one. Then you're going to get him at the Halloween one. Then we're going to get him at the Mirror of Erised. Then we're going to get him at the end of term feast. Maybe a couple of bits of Quidditch here and there, who knows? But it's a really not limited role, but it's not as screen heavy as you may think it is going to be in that first season. But Dumbledore's a character where it's just going to switch every season. As I said earlier, not much to do in 7, but still there. A lot to do in 6, not much in 5. Very heavy presence in the 4th one, not so much the 3rd one. But he's a key constant, and he's there throughout the entire series. And when he's not there, he has a presence through the other characters. So it's the right character for them to have cast first. It's awkward that there's no official announcement with it, and kind of where I'm then leaning further with this discussion is this is an American in Harry Potter. As I said of the J.K. Rowling thing, it was her that set those rules of no Americans under any circumstance. Does this open the gate for everyone else? I'm not sitting here saying, oh, they're going to Americanise Harry Potter. I think I think the show would fail if that happened. But does this mean maybe there'd be 2 or 3 roles where we get an American on the basis they can do a proper British accent, because we know John Lithgow can do the accent, but we know you get some awful American, well, you get great American actors who do awful English accents. And it really opens the door now to see who are they going to look at putting into some of these roles. Because I fear, not only with the reputation of the books, with those films as well, if there's one hint of an American accent on an iconic characters, it is just going to be a horrible time for that actor when it comes down to how people will regard it online, etc., critics, when it comes out, all of that, because it's inherently British. So it opens the door. It doesn't put the door wide open yet, but it does make me curious at other people. Are there any other American actors I'd like to see in Harry Potter? I can tell you one. It's the most boring fan cast of all time, but he is my favourite working actor. It's Adam Driver as Snape. Yes, I'm that guy saying that again. I don't think it will happen, but I think Papa Essu's in talks, again, based off his rumours. I won't do a video on rumours. I want to do videos on actual, official, somewhat official like this, announcements, but he's too good looking to be Snape. I don't care that he's black. He's the perfect age. He's like 34. Snape and Marauders, they're all in their early 30s at the time of Philosopher's Stone, and they're all dead by the time they're 40. So I'm looking at Adam Driver thinking, I don't want to call him ugly, that's horrible, but he looks like he could play Snape. We know he could play Snape. We know he can be horrible. We know he's great at comedic stuff. And as awful and disgusting a character as Snape is, obviously you're never going to replace Alan Rickman, but there is some of those moments that will translate to screen that will be funny with him. And I think someone like Adam Driver would absolutely nail that character. It's a wrong video to talk about Snape, but I'm just sat there theorising that by casting one American as one of the main teachers, does this open the door for more? And I think that's going to be a big question on a lot of people's minds. So a couple of big takeaways there. Potentially non-English actors in these roles. Potentially an announcement of sorts in the coming weeks and months, because this is an actor who's done this on a junket interview. He's cast himself as Dumbledore. And then it goes back to the J.K. Rowling thing. Yes, she's involved in the show, but has J.K. Rowling switched her incredibly... what's the right word for this? Has she switched her, 10, 20 year, bang, British actors only rule at the click of her fingers? Or is it perhaps someone at HBO, someone at Warner Brothers saying, hey, we'll put you on board, we'll give you the credits, we'll do all this, but you know what? Fantastic Beasts films didn't work. You wrote those scripts. Let us adapt your material this time around. So... there's a couple of things I guess we'll find out. We'll never know for sure. Even if that did happen, we're never going to get told that just for the sake of marketing, aren't we? So that's what I'm going to say. I didn't think I'd be going this long on one casting. I'm not going to do this for every single bloody Harry Potter casting thing. But I do wonder, the fact this isn't an official announcement, all this could be wasted in a week's time. So we'll wait to see what happens. There may be a big HBO announcement. If there's not, we might get more individual news articles coming. But I sense that maybe in March, like late March, we're going to get some official announcements of some kind. I don't know what those announcements are going to be. But I think if it is filming in April, as that first open casting call said, we've got to brace ourselves some big news pieces, and we'll be covering them if they're big enough to do videos on. So if you're a fan of Harry Potter, do consider hitting the subscribe button. There's a lot more Harry Potter stuff coming. Do you know why? And I'm going to do this now. So I've teased in a lot of videos this year. We're doing a big Harry Potter series. And I have here a copy of The Goblet of Fire. I'm currently, I think, page 480 out of 615 or whatever. I've been rereading them for the first time since uni. And what I'm going to be doing in the summer is a very special video series on the channel where we're going to be not arrogantly adapting them, but how would I like to see the series structured? And the reason I'm doing it in the summer and I'm not doing it now is because I want to read all 7 books first. I have done a shit ton of notes already, and the fact that one episode hasn't even come out yet, as you can see that I'm on the 4th book, nearly onto the 5th, but we know how much bigger the 4 to 7 are compared to 1 to 3. So I'm going to be releasing it later in the summer. It'll be 1 video a week, and it will be me structuring how I like to see the HBO series adapt these books. And I don't want it to come across as an arrogant series. I want it to be a bit of a fun one. But if it's your kind of thing, they'll be going up in the summer. No doubt they'll be casting news before then, so we'll have a few more Harry Potter videos. But in the meantime, that's going to do it for everything from me. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're not watching live, as I said, leave a comment. If you're curious on the films, the shows, put your comments in there. We'll reply to them as well. It's Oscar season. We'll be back on Sunday with the big live stream. We'll have our predictions video going up on Friday. But aside from that, that's everything I've got time for today. So once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.